everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. Now today we have another movie review for you all. I know it's very recently after my Spider-Man No Way Home review, but I wanted to get this one out ASAP so it was still pretty relevant, as the film hasn't quite been out a week yet. And as you can tell by the title, the review is for Scream. And I went and watched this at the cinema with my brother last Friday, the day it came out, and I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. And we're going to be basically breaking down different aspects of the film and give my thoughts. Of course, it will be spoiler free. I do believe you can give a perfectly good film review without having to recite the details of said film, and Scream are the kind of films you don't want ruined because it sort of defeats the whole purpose of the film. So I'm going to give my overall thoughts on the film, then we're going to go into plot and pacing, then into the acting and the characters, then talk a little bit about the kills and the gore, and then just round off the review and give it a score. So overall, I would say this film is very, very enjoyable. I'm not the biggest Scream fan. I've watched them all, but it has been some time since I have watched a Scream film. I probably haven't watched Scream 4 since when it first came out, which was some years ago now. My brother, on the other hand, is a Scream fanatic. Scream 1 is his favourite film ever, and it's his favourite franchise, so he was really psyched for it. But I would say I got just as much watching it as he did, albeit a different experience, because he was quicker to recognise the characters and stuff. But if you're just coming into this wanting to watch a good slasher whodunit movie, then definitely go and watch this film. It is a lot of fun. I have to say, despite the memories of the original films not being too fresh in my memory. But those are my overall thoughts. So we'll move on to the plot. The plot follows the sort of structure of a standard Scream film, really, although there is like a slightly different dynamic to it this time round. This is obviously the 5th film in the franchise, and really it's probably going to be the last one in this sort of, this block of Scream films. They'll probably still reuse the Ghostface mask and mantra or whatever for future projects, but in terms of like this storyline, I think this very much is the last one, and it should be anyway. But one thing I will say is this film absolutely flew by. Like, I couldn't believe the sort of 2.5 hours had passed when we got right to the climax. So I will say that a lot happens, and it all happens instantly. Not a spoiler, but we do get that classic opening where we have the phone call, the notorious phone call. What's your favourite scary movie? But that's all I'll say. So we are thrown straight into the action straight away, and that's one thing I really liked about it. It didn't hang about to really get the story going. Where Scream gets its niche is that it's a really self-aware horror film. So the idea is that the events that unfold in the film that we're watching, they're actually happening for the characters, but then within the film, a film gets made based on those events. So it's really strange, and they sort of run with the self-aware thing, I think, more than they ever have before. And at some points it was hurting my brain, because it was almost as if the characters were describing the film they were in, but actually they're describing the film that was probably going to be made about them within the film, if that makes sense. It doesn't really make sense now I'm sort of verbalising it, but when you're watching it you do kind of get it. But I feel like this film sort of took it to new levels, and it did hurt my brain a little bit at times, but it was easy enough to follow. But yeah, moving on to the acting and the characters, I have to say I was really impressed with the acting in this. If you don't know, this film brings back a lot of the legacy characters, a lot of the characters from the original film. So, Gail Weathers, or Gail Summers, is that her name? And I wanted to call him Sheriff Doofy, but is it Dewey? Doofy's from the Scary Movie film, I think. But then it also introduces us to this new roster of characters, including the guy from 13 Reasons Why, and Jack Quaid, who is Dennis Quaid's son, who is in The Boys, which is one of my favourite TV shows ever. But literally everyone in this does a really good job. One thing I will say though is that obviously they introduced quite a lot of characters, and I don't quite think that they gave enough time for you to like truly care about some of the characters. Some of them there was a really good level of character building and character establishing, but I think with others they didn't quite establish them to a good enough level that you care, and that did have sort of ramifications for certain points in the rest of the movie, like the payoffs for the rest of the movie and certain events that happen to these characters. I'm pretty sure that was spoiler free, so yeah, that's what I'll say about that. But so a little bit more time could have been given, but one thing they definitely did well was they didn't rely too heavily on the legacy characters, the original characters. I'd say they got the perfect balance of giving the new characters time to shine, but then also giving good moments to these original characters. I think that's one thing they really managed very well. And yeah, in terms of acting, it was everyone did a fantastic job, to be honest. I can't think of one bad performance. Obviously you're in a slasher getting chased by a killer in a ghost face mask. You've got to sell that, and everybody did. And there were so many characters, I say, that certain ones weren't given enough time for you to care about them, but the ones that did get the time, I was very much invested in, and there were some very funny characters in this. I will say that the humour in this was pretty good, and there were a few one-liners that made me laugh out loud, which is always good in Scream movies. So yeah, in terms of acting, can't really fault it, to be honest, but in terms of characters, maybe it just needed that 10 to 15 more minutes building up stuff, but that may have affected the pacing. So I don't know. This is why I'm not a director. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, it's a horror movie, it's a slasher. We've got to talk about the kills. I think the kills in this were absolutely brutal. I remember Scream 4 having some good kills, but this one just seemed to take it up a level, in my opinion. The kills in this were, yeah, there were some really shocking ones, and there was a few scenes where what they did so well was build the suspense, and they played on the sort of tropes of where you would expect the killer to be hiding, or where to pop out from. And yeah, they really played on that, and then that ended up with an amazing payoff pretty much all the time. So that was really great, and there were a couple of the kills which really did make me jump, and as I say, were very shocking. But yeah, I won't dive too much into that. But what I will say there's obviously always a reveal at the end of the Scream films. I had my suspicions leading up to it, and then finding out who it is. Upon reflecting, you're like, oh yeah, there's this clue, there's that clue. But the film did a really good job of concealing who it is, in my opinion. And to me, the payoff at the end for finding out who it was really, really great. Like I say, you probably could piece it together if you were properly thinking about it, but that wasn't really what I went into the film aiming to do. I didn't want to sit there and try and analyse every frame and try and work out who Ghostface was in this episode. In this film, I should say. I just went in there to have a good time and enjoy it, and that I definitely did. It's definitely a good watch. Now, one thing you may be wondering is, do I need to have seen the original Scream films before seeing this one? And to be honest, I would say no, you don't have to, but you will get more out of the sort of viewing experience if you have. Like I said, I had a vague awareness of who the characters were, but I think my brother got a different experience out of it because he's obviously watched these films multiple times. He knew what the characters were. I think he was explaining me on the drive home that there were a lot of callbacks and a lot of moments that paid sort of homage to the original films, which he really loved. Which, as a casual viewer like myself, I didn't really notice those things. I just took the film independently for what it was and still enjoyed it. So I think if you have seen the originals, it definitely adds to that. I would like to go back and watch the whole thing again, and then end with Scream 5, obviously. But yeah, I would say you don't have to, but it definitely helps to have seen them. But one thing I will say about this film, without ruining anything, is that it's definitely a love letter to Wes Craven, to the horror genre, and to the Scream franchise itself. Like, as I say, there were a lot of callbacks, but yeah, I can't really say too much without ruining it, but it ends this sort of storyline very well, and there are a lot of moments which round off things nicely and give nice callbacks to the original and stuff. So I think that really concludes my review. My overall score for the movie, I will give it an 8 out of 10. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really, really enjoyable movie. A very fun experience in the cinema. The jump scares are so much better because of obviously the cinema audio. I saw this at Cineworld Super Screen, so yeah, that added to it as well. But yeah, I definitely recommend going and seeing this film. Definitely an enjoyable experience, and yeah, just maybe watch the original films before. Maybe watch 1 and then 4. Maybe not bother with 2 and 3, but that's down to you, I guess. But guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. You probably noticed I'm in a completely different sort of area to where I usually film. I usually film there. You can see that. I think you can see the tripod leg behind me. But to be honest, I just wanted to sit down. I was really tired this evening, but I decided no, we're gonna film, and it's just a rambly film review anyway. Next week we'll be back to the sort of OG content. I think Monday will be a history video, and Thursday will be a facts video, and then the Monday after that will be another history video, but it's a life of video. So history, facts, and life of is what you have to look forward to. As I say, I just wanted to get this film review out while the film is still popular and current, because I think I sort of missed a wave with my No Way Home review. But yeah, we will end the video there, guys. I really hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe